Hi, it's Mrs. Mallet, and today we're going to talk about factoring trinomials when you don't have anything in front of the x squared. So I have some examples here on the next page. Let's go ahead and work this out. First thing I want to tell you is that look at this back sign right here. Whenever you see a plus like you do right here, that means that you're going to have the same sign. Okay, so what are you going to have the same sign inside of? All of these are going to break down into two binomial parentheses, is what we're going to have. And you're going to have something inside both those binomials. So that whenever you look at your back sign and there's a plus, that means that inside both of your binomials, you're going to have the same sign of a plus that's going to go throughout. Okay, now, in this case, that means you're going to have the same sign, and this tells you what the sign is. And I jumped ahead of myself. That tells you that inside both they're going to be a plus. Now look at this example over here, and inside both my binomials here, once again, this plus back here means they're the same sign, and this sign right here tells you what they are. So in my two binomials here, they're both going to be a negative. Okay, so now let's keep going. We're going to play the numbers game. You want to ask yourself, what two numbers multiply? So you want to multiply to 12, and you want to combine to 7. So think of all the ways to get 12. There's 1 times 12, and there's 3 times 4. Which one of these methods can I get a 7? Right, you're 3 and 4. So then this will break down to x plus 3 and x plus 4. Notice you'll both have x's because this x squared right there tells you you're going to have an x in front of both your binomials. Okay, so your final answer for this one will be x plus 3 times x plus 4. Now let's look at this next one that I have over here. Once again, you're going to have the same sign, and they're both going to be negative, like I have here. So go ahead and put your x's in front. Now let's get our number. What times what is 35? There's 1 times 35, and there's 5 times 7. If you have the same sign, which one of these can get you a negative 12? Right, if you have a negative 5 and a negative 7. So it doesn't matter your order here because you have the same sign. One's going to be a negative 5 and you're going to have the negative 7. So this will break down to x minus 5 times x minus 7. Now let's go ahead and do this next one here. Same thing. What two numbers multiply to get 6 and combine to be 5? Well, you have 6 times 1 and you have 2 times 3. Now you have the same sign and they're both positive. So go ahead and put your x pluses here. Now 6 and plus 1 is 7, but 2 plus 3 is 5. So you know our combination is 2 plus 3. And it doesn't matter your order. Now let's do this next one. Okay, now we have a minus sign back here. Whenever you have a minus sign, that means inside your parentheses now, you're going to have opposite signs. Okay, so now let's figure out. So you're going to ask yourself, what times what is 14? So there's 1 times 14 and 2 times 7. Now we have to get a positive 5 out of one of these combinations. So let's think about this for a second. If I have a negative 1 and a positive 14, that's not going to get me a 5. Even if I reverse the signs, it's not going to get me a 5. But 7 minus 2, that'll get me a 5. So I know I'm going to have a positive 7 here and a negative 2 here. Whenever you have a negative sign back here, you want to watch it to see, okay, I'm going to have different signs, so now I need to pay attention to my signs. Okay, let's try another example. Okay, so I have this one here. So I'm going to have two binomials, and this is the same sign, and they're both positive, so it's going to be x plus in both. So now let's think of the ways to get 15. There's 1 times 15, and there's 3 times 5. Can any of these combinations come up with a 6? Not at all. So whenever you are factoring and you come up with ways and you're having a hard time finding ways to get that middle term, because all in all they have to combine to the middle term, your answer is going to be prime. Okay, so when you can't factor it, it's prime. So that's going to be prime. Now let's look at our last example here. Now we have a number in front of the x squared, but always remember, see what you can factor out. Try to find your GCF first and factor it out. In this example here, my GCF is 4. So when I take a 4, what do I have left over? Remember, when you take something out, you're dividing everything by 4. Okay, so I have x squared minus 6x and plus 9. Okay, so here I can break this down further. So I have my 4 on the outside and I have my two binomials. Notice we have the same sign, and this time they're both negative on the inside. So let's figure out how to get 9. Well, there's 1 times 9 and there's 3 times 3. I want to come up with a negative 6. Well, if they're the same sign and I have my two 3's here, that's going to work. So I have x minus 3 times x minus 3. So my final answer here is 4 times x minus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, we just factored trinomials when there's nothing in front of the x squared.